So whenever you're working inside of BoxCutter, you can always go up to the top bar and adjust your alignment. However, you also are able to adjust your alignment on the fly. So let's say I was trying to work from here. I can press ShiftV and bring up the alignment helper in order to just now begin drawing shapes that are actually aligned to view and won't be actually constrained to the surface itself. To show the difference of that, we'll jump to Object, and we see that now this shape is constrained to the object, so it's actually cutting that way, versus if I jump over to View, I can now draw with it actually constrained to the view, allowing me to get a much more unique view-based design depending on what I'm going for in the type of modeling. Whenever it comes to perspective can be a little bit problematic. So if I press F4, we can bring up our preferences, and underneath navigation, auto perspective is a very popular toggle that is on by default with Blender because they find it to be a great idea that whenever you jump out your view, that it moves you into perspective. In fact, let's try that again. F4, preferences, we want to have auto perspective. So if we look at it from the side and then we move our view, now we're in perspective. So if we try to look at this from the front mode, it's going to just get a little bit weird. So here we are trying to do a view align cut, and we see that the view align cut did not go exactly where we wanted. So for that reason, inside ShiftV, there will also be an option for basically auto perspective, which you can turn off, and once you turn it off, it will disable it in press and just disappear because we don't really care about turning it back on. We just want to make sure that it's off. Now, auto ortho is also there for you to ensure that the moment that you start drawing your cut, it jumps you into orthographic mode. However, if we right click, we can cancel that, and now we're actually in orthographic mode. As much as that strange mismatch of clicks I just described sounds like a bit of an accidental maneuver, it is pretty handy whenever you're on a laptop in order to quickly jump to orthographic view whenever you're working. Part of our workflow also caters towards working on a laptop. I do spend a bit of time testing on a particular laptop that has no numpad to ensure that we can create really interesting shapes without having to jump back over to a system with a numpad, because numpads can be a little bit constrained. They also result in kind of larger laptops. Not really trying to get into that, but I love a laptop without a numpad for some reason. Call me crazy, don't call me Shirley. You know what, we'll just toggle off view here, so that way we can just align this to the surface and bring this down, and just like that we're able to just quickly jump between these various cut modes on the fly. But with ShiftV, you're able to quickly bring up this helper to just get the most out of your box cutter experience. Another example I want to show is that if I were to press Q and use the HardOps menu to use bull scroll, we can recall this cutter with A, go backwards, recall, let's see, this cutter with A. We want to also recall this cutter with A, and by selecting all three of these cutters, we can press Shift V and bring up the BC transform gizmo, and by activating this we can actually shift drag this to duplicate these objects, keeping their Boolean operations and everything, just quickly allowing us to just duplicate this just on the fly. So sometimes you have a shape that you want to replicate, and just pressing Shift V and bringing up the box cutter transform gizmo is one of those really fast ways to just quickly bring this up. And then of course keep in mind that any shape that you cut into a surface can be extracted. So we can actually just draw a box, let's deselect this, make sure we select the main object. We'll just draw a box around this, even with line box, press Y to extract, and that shape has been extracted. So if we wanted to, we can enable the extraction, disable that, and this shape can be repeated anywhere. We'll hide that as well and just Shift A, add a cube, and we're just going to draw a shape, and I'll press period to constrain to center, and which also will give us a proportional draw, and we just bring that in, and this is the shape that we have. And so just by shifting it to live, we're free to use Blender's transforms, which sometimes can be a little easier. But here we are just moving it around, just really positioning things to just get something unique with something that we extracted from something we were just messing around with. Kind of looks like some Ethernet jacks now, right? But I just wanted to just show in action how you would use Shift V on the fly to get around. Of course, cursor is one of those really rare ones that I use only when I'm dealing with very particular alignment situations that can't be dealt with via our view alignment systems that are in HOPS, or the system of Grid Grid that already works pretty well with the surface. More on that later. But with that, ShiftV, the alignment helper, add it to your workflow today.